The night was quiet, but inside the small alien home, silence carried pain. The mother sat near the corner, her large dark eyes staring at the floor. In her arms lay her daughter, a fragile child who could not move her legs. The little girl's name was Lyra, and since her birth, she had never taken a single step. Every day, the mother watched her daughter struggle. Every morning, she hoped for a miracle, but every night ended in tears. In their world, children were expected to grow strong, to walk early, and to learn the ways of survival. But Lyra was different, and the people around them called her weak. Some even whispered that she was cursed. The mother hated those whispers. She hated the way neighbors looked at her child, as if she was broken beyond repair. But most of all, she hated herself for not being able to help. She was a mother, yet she could not heal her daughter. Her name was Soraya, and each day felt like a battle against despair. Soraya tried to smile in front of Lyra. She told her stories of the stars. She promised her that one day, everything would be different. But when the night came, when Lyra finally closed her eyes and fell asleep, Soraya's mask broke. She cried quietly, making sure no sound reached her daughter's ears. Outside, the alien city glowed with silver towers and sharp lights. Yet Soraya felt trapped in darkness. Her people had medicine. They had knowledge, but not for this. No one could fix what was broken inside Lyra's body. The doctors had tried and failed. The elders had declared it impossible. And so, Soraya was told to accept it. But how could a mother accept such a fate? Every time Soraya looked at her daughter, she saw not weakness, but courage. Lyra never complained. She smiled when her mother carried her. She laughed when she was told stories. Her spirit was brighter than any star. Yet she longed for something she never had. Her first step? On one cold evening, as the wind howled outside, Soraya sat near the fire. Lyra leaned against her, small and warm. "Mother," Lyra whispered, "will I ever walk like the others?" Soraya froze. The words pierced her heart. She wanted to say yes, but she feared lying. She wanted to tell the truth, but the truth was too cruel. Instead, Soraya kissed her daughter's forehead. "One day, my child," she whispered. "One day, the stars will bring us hope." Lyra closed her eyes, trusting those words. For her, hope was enough, but for Soraya, it was a promise that tore her soul, because she did not know how such a day could ever come. In the following days, Soraya noticed something strange. Travelers had come to their world. They were not like her people. They were different, with smaller frames, soft skin, and strange voices. These were humans, rare visitors from another star. They came to offer aid, to share knowledge, and to help the poor. The aliens around Soraya spoke with mixed feelings. Some welcomed the humans. Others feared them. Rumors spread fast. Some said humans had miracles in their hands. Some said they carried dangerous tricks. But Soraya listened carefully. She heard of medicines that cured the hopeless. She heard of tools that repaired broken bodies. Her heart burned with a new kind of fear. Fear of hope. Could it be true? Could these strange humans fix what her people could not? Could they give her daughter the gift she dreamed of? The thought alone made her tremble. She wanted to believe, yet doubt chained her heart. That night, Soraya sat awake, staring at her sleeping child. Lyra's small chest rose and fell gently. Her fragile arms curled against her mother's side. In the silence of that broken home, Soraya's mind battled. On one side was fear. Fear of disappointment. Fear of false hope. On the other side was love, burning so bright it demanded action. The fire dimmed, and shadows danced on the walls. Soraya whispered to herself, "If there is even one chance, I must take it." Her voice cracked, but her heart was firm. She could not allow her daughter's future to be decided by despair. She could not let the whispers of curse and weakness define Lyra's life. Outside, the stars shimmered in the vast sky. Soraya looked at them with tears in her eyes. She remembered the words she had told her daughter. One day, the stars will bring us hope. Now, for the first time, she wondered if those words were not just comfort, but prophecy. The silence of the broken home carried pain, but also a seed of change. And somewhere far away, in the heart of humanity's visitors, the gift that would change everything was waiting to be given. The following morning began like any other. The alien city stirred with its usual rhythm, silver towers shining under a pale sun, and people moving about with purpose. But inside Soraya's heart, there was a heaviness. She carried Lyra through the streets, ignoring the looks of pity and whispers of mockery. Yet something different lingered in the air, a quiet murmur spreading among her people. The humans had arrived. For the first time, Soraya saw them with her own eyes. They stood at the edge of the city, near a relief station they had set up with glowing machines and strange supplies. They were smaller than most of her kind, their skin soft, their voices warm and strange. Unlike the sharp and proud posture of her people, humans moved with an open kindness. They touched the sick without fear. They smiled at children without hesitation. Soraya's steps slowed as she watched them. One human placed his hand over a wounded alien's shoulder, and the wound closed faster than her people's medicine could achieve. Another handed small devices to the elders, showing them how to use it to ease pain. Their actions were simple, but the results felt like miracles. Lyra's eyes widened with wonder. Her small hands clutched at her mother's robe. "Mother, look," she whispered. "They are helping them." Soraya's throat tightened. She wanted to turn away, to shield her child from more disappointment. But Lyra's eyes shone with hope, a light Soraya had not seen in so long. Some of the aliens muttered nearby. "Do not trust them," one elder said with a sharp tone. "They bring gifts to make us weak." Another shook his head. "Their ways are dangerous, unnatural. They do not belong here." But their voices were drowned by the sight before them. Wounds closing, coughs fading, limbs moving again. Soraya felt torn. She had been taught to fear outsiders, to protect her people's pride. But every time she looked at her daughter, she saw a dream that could not be silenced. Could these strangers truly do the impossible? Could they help Lyra walk? As she stood there, a young human noticed her. He had gentle eyes, the color of the sea. He walked over slowly, respectful of the distance. "Hello," he said in their tongue, though his accent was strange. "Do you need help?" Soraya froze. Words stuck in her throat. She wanted to scream yes, but fear chained her. She simply held her daughter tighter. The human smiled, lowering himself to Lyra's level. "You are very brave," he told the child softly. "What is your name?" "Lyra," the girl whispered, her eyes wide with curiosity. The human nodded. "Lyra," he repeated carefully, as if her name was precious. "I am Daniel." Soraya's heart raced. She had never seen a human so close. His voice was calm, his movements humble, not demanding like her people. For a moment, she saw no threat, only compassion. Daniel looked up at Soraya. "We have tools," he said carefully. "They can help many things, things your healers cannot fix." He hesitated, his eyes full of honesty. "But we do not force. The choice is always yours." Those words struck her like a storm. The choice was hers. For years, Soraya had been told there was no choice, that fate was sealed. Yet here stood a human, offering a possibility she had never imagined. That night, Soraya sat in her home, the firelight flickering on the walls. Lyra lay beside her, wide awake with excitement. "Mother," she whispered, "they can fix me, I know it." Soraya brushed her daughter's hair, her chest heavy with fear and hope. "Maybe, my child," she whispered. "Maybe." But deep inside, Soraya's heart trembled. She knew hope could break as easily as glass. Still, when she closed her eyes, she saw Daniel's calm smile, his gentle words, and the impossible miracles unfolding in the streets. For the first time, the silence of her broken home was pierced not by sorrow, but by a spark of something dangerous and powerful, something her people feared, but her daughter embraced: hope. And as the stars rose outside, Soraya wondered if perhaps humanity had brought more than aid. Perhaps they had brought the very thing her daughter needed most. Days passed, and the human camp grew busier. Their machines hummed with strange sounds. Their lights glowed softly even at night. To Soraya, it looked like something alive, something breathing hope into the streets of her people. Yet most of the aliens watched from a distance, whispering warnings. Soraya could not ignore it anymore. Lyra's excitement had grown too strong. Every day she begged her mother to take her closer. "Please, mother, I want to see them again," she said with shining eyes. Soraya's heart ached. She wanted to protect her daughter from disappointment, yet she could not crush that fragile spark of hope. One morning, Soraya carried Lyra back to the human station. Daniel was there, working beside other humans. He greeted them with a kind smile. "You came back," he said softly, as if he had been waiting. Soraya hesitated, her voice low. "My daughter, she cannot walk. Our people cannot fix her." She lowered her gaze, ashamed. "They say it is hopeless." Daniel's face grew serious, but not with pity, rather with determination. He knelt again before Lyra. "There is something we have," he said gently. "It is not magic. It is science, a gift from humanity." From a small case, Daniel revealed a device. It was no larger than his hand, silver and smooth, glowing faintly with a blue pulse. Soraya's breath caught in her throat. It looked simple, yet it radiated mystery. "This is called neuroweave technology," Daniel explained. "It repairs the broken connections inside the body. It does not make someone new. It only helps the body do what it was meant to do." His eyes met Soraya's. "It has given hope to many who thought they would never move again." Nearby, aliens gasped. Some stepped back in fear. Others shook their heads. "Dangerous," one muttered. "It will change her, it will corrupt her." But Lyra leaned forward, her voice trembling. "Mother, please." Soraya's hands shook. She wanted to scream, to run, to protect her child from unknown risks. But when she looked at Lyra, she saw not fear. She saw trust, trust in her mother to make the right choice, trust in the humans who offered this gift. Daniel placed the device carefully on the table. "We will not force you," he said again. "The choice is yours, but know this, your daughter is strong. If you allow us, we will try to give her legs the chance to carry her strength." That night, Soraya sat by the fire once more, Lyra asleep against her side. The device lay before her, glowing faintly. She stared at it for hours. Her people's voices echoed in her head. "Do not trust them. They bring danger. They do not belong." But her daughter's soft voice echoed louder. "Mother, please." Tears filled Soraya's eyes. She whispered into the silence. "If this fails, forgive me, my child. But if it works, may the stars bless these humans forever." The next day, Soraya carried Lyra into the human tent. Her voice cracked but steady. "Do it," she said. "Help my daughter." The humans moved with calm precision. They placed gentle hands on Lyra, speaking to her kindly, explaining every step. Daniel connected the device, wires glowing softly as they touched her skin. A faint hum filled the air, strange symbols flashing across their monitors. Soraya stood outside, unable to breathe. Every second felt like a lifetime. Every sound from inside made her heart pound. Her people gathered, whispering louder now. Some called her brave, others called her foolish, but Soraya heard nothing except her own heartbeat. Time stretched endlessly. She pressed her hands together, whispering prayers to stars she wasn't even sure were listening. And then, at last, Daniel stepped out. His face was tired, but there was a quiet light in his eyes. "It will take time," he said softly. "Her body needs to heal, but it has begun." Soraya staggered, relief and fear crashing into her all at once. She looked at the tent, at the shadows inside where her daughter rested, and for the first time, she allowed herself to believe. The gift of humanity was not just a machine. It was hope, fragile yet powerful, dangerous yet beautiful. And as Soraya stood there, trembling in the cold morning air, she knew her world had changed forever. The night was colder than usual. A sharp wind whistled through the alien streets, carrying with it the nervous whispers of those who had heard about Soraya's choice. Inside the human tent, strange lights glowed, and quiet voices spoke in tones of careful focus. Outside, Soraya waited, her heart pounding like a drum she could not silence. She stood alone, though a small crowd had gathered at a distance. Some stared with curiosity, others with fear. A few muttered dark words about betrayal. She trusted them. She gave her child to outsiders. One elder hissed, another shook his head. "It will end in sorrow." But Soraya blocked out their voices. She could only think of her daughter, Lyra, somewhere behind the canvas walls. Her little girl was lying still as the humans worked with their strange device. Soraya's hands trembled as she pressed them against her chest. Each breath felt heavy. Each second stretched like an eternity. The humans had told her it would take hours, maybe all night. They explained that the device was weaving new pathways inside Lyra's fragile body, repairing what had been broken since birth. To Soraya, their words were like smoke, difficult to grasp but filled with promise. She paced back and forth. Her long shadow moved under the pale moonlight. Every now and then, a faint hum escaped the tent, the sound of human machines working. Soraya's ears caught it, and her heart leapt. Was it progress, or was it danger? She could not know. At one point, Daniel stepped outside for a brief moment. His face looked tired but calm. "She is strong," he said softly. "She is holding on." Soraya clutched his sleeve, her voice breaking. "Will she live?" Daniel met her eyes with quiet certainty. "Yes, she will live, but you must be patient." Patience, the word tasted bitter. For years, Soraya had endured patience, watching her daughter grow without walking, living without what others took for granted. But tonight was different. Tonight patience meant hope. Tonight patience could mean change. Hours passed. The fire outside burned low. The stars wheeled across the sky. The crowd around her grew restless and thinned. But Soraya did not move. Her feet felt frozen to the ground. Her eyes remained fixed on the tent, as if staring alone could protect her child. Inside her heart, fear clawed endlessly. What if it failed? What if the humans were wrong? What if she had doomed her daughter to more pain? Soraya's breath shook as she whispered prayers to the stars. "Let her live, let her walk. Take anything from me, but give her this." As the night deepened, the voices inside the tent softened, and the hum of machines slowed. The silence pressed against Soraya like a weight. Her body screamed for rest, but she refused to close her eyes. She could not while her daughter's future was being rewritten. Finally, just before dawn, Daniel emerged again. His face was pale with exhaustion, yet his eyes carried a quiet fire. Soraya rushed to him, her voice almost breaking. "Tell me, what happened?" Daniel placed a hand over his heart. "The process is done," he said. "Her body will need time to heal, but the connections are there. They are alive again." Soraya's knees nearly gave out. She steadied herself against the wooden post of the tent. Tears blurred her vision. She wanted to see her daughter immediately, to hold her, to believe his words. But Daniel lifted a hand gently. "She rests now. She must gather strength. When she wakes, you will see." The sky was turning pale with the first light of morning. Soraya sank to the ground, her body shaking with both exhaustion and relief. Around her, the whispers of the crowd shifted, some in awe, some in disbelief, but she heard none of it. All she could hear was the echo of Daniel's words. "When she wakes, you will see." The long night had not broken her. It had carved something new into her soul. Faith, not in fate, not in her people's traditions, but in the strange hands of humanity. For the first time, Soraya allowed herself to imagine the impossible. Her daughter taking her first step, and as the sun rose, painting the silver towers in gold, Soraya whispered to herself, "The night is over. The waiting is done. The dawn will bring her back to me." The first rays of dawn touched the alien city. The silver towers glowed softly, and the whispers of the night faded into silence. But inside Soraya's heart, a storm raged. She had waited through the longest night of her life, and now all she wanted was to see her daughter. Daniel approached quietly, his eyes tired but steady. "She is awake," he said softly. His words struck Soraya like lightning. Her chest tightened, her legs trembled. For a moment, she could not breathe. She hurried past him, pushing aside the tent's curtain. Inside, the air smelled of medicine and strange human machines. Lyra lay on a soft bed, her eyes half open. Her face was pale, but her lips curled into a weak smile. "Mother," she whispered. Her voice was soft, but alive with something new. Soraya rushed forward, kneeling beside her daughter. She cupped her face, tears streaming freely. "I am here, my child," she said, Her hands trembled as she held the little girl she thought she might lose. Daniel and the other humans stood back, giving them space. The blue glow of the device still pulsed faintly on Lyra's legs. Soraya stared at it with both fear and awe. Could this really be the miracle she had prayed for? Lyra shifted slightly, her small fingers clutching her mother's sleeve. "Mother," she said again, her voice shaky, "help me sit." Soraya's heart nearly stopped. "No, rest," she whispered. "You must not strain yourself." But Daniel's calm voice spoke from behind. "Let her try." The words filled the tent with silence. Soraya turned to him, her fear clashing with his quiet confidence. She looked back at her daughter, whose eyes now glowed with determination. Not weakness, not despair, determination. Slowly, carefully, Soraya helped Lyra sit up. The child's legs dangled over the side of the bed. Soraya held her breath, her hands hovered near, ready to catch her. Lyra's legs trembled, as if awakening from a long, endless sleep. Muscles that had never obeyed now twitched. Her feet touched the ground. Weak but real, Soraya gasped. Her daughter's eyes widened in wonder. "Mother," Lyra whispered, "I can't feel them." The tent seemed to hold its breath. Daniel nodded, his voice soft but firm. "Stand, little one. Stand and let the world see." Soraya wanted to protest, to hold her daughter safe in her arms forever. But something inside her knew she could not stop this moment. She pulled her hands back, her heart pounding as Lyra pushed against the bed. The child's legs shook violently. Her knees bent, her body wavered. For a terrifying second, Soraya thought she would fall, but then, against every law her people believed unbreakable, Lyra stood. Her small frame trembled. Sweat covered her forehead, but she was standing on her own legs for the very first time. Soraya's tears blurred her vision. She pressed her hands against her mouth, stifling a cry. Lyra looked down at her feet, disbelief on her face. Then she took a step, one small, fragile step. The sound of her foot touching the ground was louder than thunder in Soraya's ears. Another step followed, slow and shaky, but real. The humans smiled quietly, some even wiping their eyes. They had seen many miracles, but each one carried the same weight. For Soraya, it was more than a miracle. It was the breaking of chains, the end of despair. Lyra turned, her steps clumsy but determined, and threw herself into her mother's arms. Soraya caught her, falling to her knees, sobbing into her daughter's hair. "You are walking," she cried. "By the stars, you are walking." Outside the tent, the crowd that had gathered gasped. Some fell silent in awe. Others shouted in disbelief. The whispers of curse and weakness melted away, replaced by the undeniable truth before their eyes. Soraya held her daughter tightly, her tears soaking into Lyra's shoulder. "You are strong," she whispered, "stronger than anyone." Lyra pulled back just enough to look into her mother's eyes. "No, Mother," she said softly. "I am strong because you believed, and because of them." She pointed at the humans standing nearby. Soraya turned her gaze to Daniel and his people. Her throat ached, but she forced the words out. "Thank you." Her voice was broken, but full of gratitude. The tent filled with quiet warmth, a silence not of fear, but of reverence. Humanity had given what no one else could, and in that moment, Soraya knew the world had changed forever. The first step was more than movement. It was proof that the impossible was no longer impossible. It was the moment hope became real, and it was only the beginning. The news spread like fire. By the time the sun reached its peak, the entire city knew the truth. The cursed child had walked. The impossible had happened, and it had happened because of the humans. Crowds gathered outside the human tent. Some came in silence, their eyes wide with disbelief. Others shouted questions, anger mixing with fear. Elders stood at the front, their faces hard and unreadable. They had always spoken with certainty. No cure exists, yet now their certainty was broken. Soraya stood with Lyra at her side. The little girl leaned on her mother's arm, but she stood tall. Her legs wobbled. Her steps were slow, but she walked. The crowd gasped each time her feet touched the ground, as though every step shattered another wall of doubt. Impossible One elder hissed, "This is a trick." But the people were not blind. They saw the child's joy, the light in her eyes, the way she laughed as she moved. It was no trick, it was truth. The whispers grew louder. Some cried out in fear. If humans can change fate, what else can they change? Others murmured with awe. If they can give this gift, what else might they share? Daniel stepped forward, his calm voice cutting through the storm of voices. "We did not change her nature," he said. "We did not give her new strength. We only repaired what was broken. Humanity does not curse. Humanity heals." The words struck deep. Some of the elders bristled, pride wounded. They had built their power on certainty, on the belief that some lives were doomed, but here stood proof that they were wrong. Soraya held her daughter close. Her voice was firm though her hands trembled. "My child was not cursed. She was not weak. She was waiting for this gift, for this chance." Her eyes burned as she looked at the elders. "And you would have left her to suffer." Gasps rippled through the crowd. The elders tried to speak, but their voices faltered. For the first time, people were not listening to them. They were listening to the mother and the child who defied fate. Lyra took another step forward, her small hand slipping from her mother's arm. She walked, slowly but proudly, toward Daniel. Her legs shook, but she did not fall. The crowd fell silent, watching her every movement. When she reached him, she lifted her face and whispered, "Thank you." The simple words echoed louder than any speech. Daniel knelt to her level, his smile warm. "You did this," he said softly. "We only gave you the chance." The crowd erupted, some crying, some shouting. Some dropped to their knees in awe. Others turned away, unable to accept what they had seen, but no one could deny it. The truth was clear. The humans had done what no alien healer had ever achieved. For Soraya, the moment was overwhelming. She saw not just her daughter's steps, but the shifting hearts of her people. Humanity was no longer just a visitor, no longer a rumor. They were saviors, carriers of miracles. That night, when the city was still buzzing with talk, Soraya sat with Lyra by the fire. The girl leaned against her, her legs wrapped in soft cloth for support. "Mother," she whispered, "they will believe now, won't they?" Soraya stroked her daughter's hair. Some will not," she answered gently. "But what matters is that you are free. You have shown them the truth." The truth was more powerful than any elder's command, more lasting than any tradition. And as Soraya looked across the sky, she felt a shift inside her people's story. Humanity had not only healed her daughter's body, they had broken open the walls of fear and pride that had caged her people for generations. For the first time, Soraya whispered words she never thought she would say. "Trust the humans," she said softly. "They carry not only knowledge, but compassion. That is their greatest gift." And as Lyra's laughter filled the air, the truth settled deep into the hearts of all who had witnessed the miracle. The curse had been nothing but ignorance, and humanity had revealed the light hidden within. Weeks passed, and the story of Lyra spread far beyond the city. Travelers carried the tale across villages, then across the entire world. The cursed child who could not walk had taken her first steps, and it was all because of the gift of humanity. For many, it was still difficult to believe. Elders argued in meetings, tried to explain away the miracle. Some said it was a dangerous trick. Others warned it would weaken their people's spirit, but their words sounded hollow now, because the truth walked among them every day. Lyra's steps grew stronger. At first, she needed her mother's arm for support, but soon she could walk across the room on her own. Then she could run a few paces, laughing as she stumbled. Each step was a victory, each laugh a reminder that what was once impossible was now real. Children began to follow her through the streets. They looked at her not with pity, but with admiration. "Show us again," they begged, and Lyra would smile proudly as she walked before them. Her courage became their hope. Soraya, too, had changed. The silence that once filled her home was gone, replaced by laughter, by the sound of footsteps that had never existed before. Her eyes, once filled with sorrow, now shone with pride. She had fought despair for so long, and now she carried hope like a banner. The humans remained for a time, offering aid, teaching, sharing their knowledge. But soon they would leave, their mission calling them to other worlds. Before they departed, Daniel came to Soraya and Lyra, his voice soft. She is strong now, but she will still need care. Her journey has just begun. Soraya bowed her head, her voice breaking. You gave me back my child, she whispered. How can I repay you? Daniel shook his head. Do not repay us. Just remember, humanity does not seek power. We seek connection. If you remember us with kindness, that is enough. When the humans finally left, their ships rising into the sky like falling stars in reverse, many watched with awe. Some waved. Some remained silent, but no one would forget. Years passed, and Lyra grew. She did not become just another child in the crowd. She became a symbol. Her story inspired others to trust, to hope, to reach beyond fear. She walked into the halls where elders once ruled with certainty, and she reminded them of their failure. You called me cursed, she said firmly, but I was never cursed. I was waiting for a gift you were too proud to accept. Her words broke chains that had bound her people for generations. Slowly, pride gave way to humility. Suspicion gave way to curiosity. More doors opened when humanity returned again, carrying new knowledge, new compassion, and this time, the people welcomed them. Soraya grew older, but her heart never lost its gratitude. She often sat outside at night, looking at the stars, remembering the night she had whispered for hope, remembering the humans who had answered. She told the story again and again, not as a tale of weakness, but as proof of what compassion could create. One evening, when Lyra was grown, she sat beside her mother by the fire, her steps steady and strong. Mother, she said gently, do you ever think about the humans? Soraya smiled softly. Every day, they gave me back more than a daughter. They gave me a future I never dreamed of. Lyra's eyes glowed with determination. Then I will carry their gift forward. I will make sure no child is ever left in silence like I was. Humanity gave me steps, and I will use them to walk a path for others. Tears filled Soraya's eyes. She reached for her daughter's hand, her voice trembling. Then their gift will never die. It will live in you and in all who walk after you. The fire crackled, the stars burned bright, and a mother held her daughter's hand. Their world had been forever changed, not by conquest, not by war, but by the simple, powerful truth of humanity's gift. The legacy was not only Lyra's first step, it was every step that followed, every life touched, every heart opened, and through it all, Soraya whispered the words that would echo through generations. They gave me back my child, and in doing so, they gave us all a future,